In 2006, the biggest website in America was not Google. It was not Yahoo. It was MySpace. For a stretch of time, a social network built by a couple of guys in Los Angeles was pulling more traffic than the search engine that now runs the planet. News Corporation had just bought it for $580 million, and at its peak, the whole thing was valued at around $12 billion. MySpace was not a website, it was where the internet actually lived. And then, in the space of about 4 years, it collapsed so completely that its name became a punchline. Most people will tell you MySpace died because Facebook was cooler or cleaner or because young people are fickle. That is the comfortable version. The real story is uglier and far more technical. MySpace did not lose because of taste. It lost because its own code became a swamp it could not climb out of, and every quarter it sank a little deeper until it drowned. To understand the fall, you have to understand how unstoppable it looked. MySpace, launched in 2003, built in a matter of weeks. Its killer feature was radical for the time. Your profile was yours. You could change the colors, the layout, the background, add music that played automatically when someone visited. For a generation of teenagers, MySpace was the first place on the internet that felt like a bedroom you could decorate. It exploded. By 2005, it was one of the biggest sites in the world. News Corp and Rupert Murdoch bought it, and the following year it passed Google in US traffic. Tom, the smiling default friend, was on more than 100 million profiles. It had won the internet, and the exact feature that made it win was quietly planting the seeds of its death. Here is the technical decision that mattered most. To let users customize their profiles, MySpace did something reckless. It let them paste raw code, HTML and CSS directly into the page. There was no real sandbox, no clean template system. Whatever you typed got injected straight into MySpace's own pages and executed. In the short term, this was genius. It drove the customization craze that made the site addictive. But think about what it actually meant. Millions of untrained teenagers were now writing code that ran inside MySpace's website. Profiles broke constantly, pages were bloated with junk that made them load slowly, and it blew the doors open on security. Hackers could inject malicious code into profiles, and one famous worm added over 1 million friends to its creator's account in less than a day by exploiting exactly this hole. MySpace had turned its own product into an unpredictable mess that it no longer fully controlled. Underneath the chaos on the surface was a deeper rot. MySpace had been built fast and cheap, originally on an aging technology stack, and then bolted onto and patched and extended for years by a company that was growing faster than it could hire. Engineers have a name for what this produces. They call it a big ball of mud, a system with no real architecture, where everything is tangled into everything else, and no one fully understands how it works anymore. The result is technical debt, and MySpace was drowning in it. Simple changes took forever. The site was slow and it crashed. Cleaning up the interface or launching a new feature meant touching a codebase so fragile that fixing one thing broke 3 others. MySpace tried a massive, painful re-platforming onto a completely different technology stack to dig itself out. It went badly. While MySpace was spending its energy just trying to keep the lights on, a competitor was about to show everyone what focus looked like. The thing that killed MySpace was not that Facebook looked nicer, it was that Facebook could ship. Facebook was built by engineers who treated the software itself as the entire product. Their codebase was clean enough that they could add features fast, test them, and roll them out to millions of people without the whole thing falling over. When Facebook launched the newsfeed, a single stream of everything your friends were doing, it was a genuine engineering achievement, and it changed social media forever. MySpace could not answer it. It was too busy fighting its own foundation. So while MySpace shipped slowly, buggily, and rarely, Facebook shipped constantly. In software, that gap is everything. The company that can improve its product every week will always eventually crush the company that can barely improve it at all. MySpace was not being out-designed. It was being out-engineered, and then ownership made it worse. News Corp had paid a fortune for MySpace, and it wanted a return, fast, So MySpace signed a deal with Google worth around $900 million, in which Google would provide the site's search and advertising. It sounded like free money. But the deal came with brutal traffic and page view targets MySpace had to hit to get paid. So the company did the thing that kills products. It crammed more and more advertising onto every page to juice the numbers. The pages, already slow from the tech debt, got slower and more cluttered. Spam and fake profiles multiplied because fighting them properly was expensive and hurt the metrics. Every incentive now pointed at squeezing the existing users harder instead of fixing the rotting engineering underneath. Management was optimizing for this quarter's ad revenue while the actual product decayed. The users felt all of it, even if they could not name it. The slow pages, the broken profiles, the spam, the sense that nothing ever got better. And right next door was a site that was fast, clean, and improving constantly. So they left. Not all at once, but steadily, and then all at once. By 2008, Facebook had passed MySpace in global users, and the exodus became a stampede. The traffic that News Corp had paid $580 million for evaporated. In 2011, News Corp sold MySpace to an advertising company with the musician Justin Timberlake attached for about $35 million. A company that had been worth $12 billion, that had been bigger than Google, sold for the kind of money a mid-sized startup raises in a single round. It was one of the greatest destructions of value in the history of the internet. But the story has one last technical gut punch, and it is almost too perfect. In 2019, MySpace, now a shrunken shadow of itself, quietly admitted that it had lost everything users had uploaded between 2003 and 2015, 50 million songs from 14 million artists, along with photos and videos, gone. The reason it gave was a botched server migration. To the very end, the one thing MySpace could never do was manage its own technology. The site that had been built on music, that had launched careers, could not keep its own servers from eating 12 years of it. That was the epitaph, not a rival that was cooler. A company that simply could not run its own machines. So what actually killed MySpace? It is tempting to say Facebook, but that is the symptom, not the cause. MySpace died because it never believed that the engineering was the business. It treated code as a thing you throw together to get a product out the door, and then never have to respect again. The customization feature that fueled its growth was also an unmaintainable security disaster. The foundation was a big ball of mud it refused to rebuild while it still had the lead and the money to do it. And its owners optimized for the next quarter's ad revenue, while the technical debt compounded into bankruptcy of a different kind. Facebook won because it was, at its core, an engineering company that happened to run a social network. MySpace lost because it was an entertainment company that happened to run a website, and it treated the website like an afterthought. In software, the afterthought is the whole thing. Ignore it long enough and it does not just slow you down, it buries you. MySpace treated its engineering as a chore and got outbuilt by a company that treated it as the entire point. It is a mistake giants keep making. Another one was even bigger. It was the front door to the whole internet. It owned search before Google did, and it gave it all away for the exact same reason. That story is on the channel right now, and the link is on screen.